Today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the latest Time Stories expansion, Brotherhood of the Coast. This is my favorite game. This is probably my second favorite module in Time Stories. And I will try to avoid spoilers today, but if you don't want to know anything about this expansion, just don't watch this video. Just play it. It's about pirates, as you can tell. Or not necessarily pirates, but, you know, sailing on the high seas. And so I just recommend that you play it. But I will try to, if I do realize I'm going to say anything that's a true spoiler, I will prompt it as such. So anything otherwise that I discuss will just be stuff that you see when you open the box. Or when you're going through like the initial introductory cards. So this expansion is cool. I've never seen this before in Time Stories expansion. They included a board extension for a bunch of new cards. They could have just said put these on the table, but I like that they gave you a place to organize them. That was really helpful. There are three things that I want to chat about in brief today, and part of this is just so I can remember it and I can go back to this video as I'm working on my exploration game, because this game has been super inspiring for me. One of the cool things that you'll see when you open this game is that there are 4 packets that look like this. So there's a big packet of cards, but also there are packets that represent islands that you're going to discover in the game. And so 3 of them look like this, and one of them looks a little different. Looks like this. And so throughout the game, really from the very beginning, which I'll show you in a second, you know where these islands are, and you know that you can go explore them, and you know the cards in here have something to do with those islands. This island, it's a bigger deck, and you're not really given much information about it, but the fact that it's out there on the table throughout the whole game gives players this sense of mystery and wonder of how are we going to find this place? How are we going to get to this deck of cards? I really like that. And I also just like the packaging. I like that these were separated so that you know, okay, here's this big chunky thing that we get to go discover at some point, and we already know where it is. So tied to that is the element of the maps in this game. So Time Stories always includes a 4-piece map. Let's see if I can put it together here, where this is always on the board. It kind of looks like this. And it gives you different places to go to visit. And during a game of Time Stories, usually this map itself might change. So you might be in one location, you might be in like a city, and this 4-section grid, I'll just hold up all of them like this. This 4-card grid represents the different places that you can go in that city. And then when you move on to a new location, you'll completely replace these cards with new cards. In some Time Stories expansions, you'll just have these 4 cards, and every once in a while you'll like find something new on this card, and so you'll get rid of it and you'll put in a new version of that card that has new locations on it. So like the next time you do a run, you can go back and you can go straight to those new locations. So I think this is always really cool. But the really cool thing about Brotherhood of the Coast is that there are maps within maps. So you have this map. This represents the different islands that you can sail around to. But also on the board, you'll have, so very minor spoiler here, really minor, you'll have one of those islands. So in addition to having this big 4-grid map on the board, if we decide to visit Port Royal, then we'll also put this map separately on the board, and this is more like the traditional map where you have 4 different locations that you can go to and things that you can discover at those locations. So I really like this element in an exploration game, that you might have a big map for players to look at, and this doesn't even represent the whole world perhaps. This may represent just a certain part, like a continent, a country, a part of the world. And then within that world, if you go to a certain place, you have a map within a map that you can also delve deeper into. I think that's really cool. And that definitely gave me an idea for my exploration game. The other part is, or the last mechanism that I thought was really cool, was because in this expansion you are sailing between islands. Whenever you do that, you're at sea. There's no other better way to say it. You are at sea, and things happen when you are at sea. Yeah, so you have these at sea cards that when you're sailing, you'll draw one of these and you'll look at it and you'll do the thing on the card, and some of them are ships. So some of them are kind of a risk-reward endeavor. Yeah, I got to say spoilers here. This is another minor spoiler, things that you could probably guess, but you probably don't want to know this if you're going to play the expansion, which is that The ships are the primary way that you can get loot. You can get barrels and coins in this game. And so I'll spoil a little. Well, no, I won't actually show one of them. I won't go that far. But there are ships on many of these cards. And so sailing around can actually be a good thing, but you don't know how powerful those ships are. So you might draw a ship that's really, really powerful and can pose some problems for you. But if you defeat it, you get a lot of loot. But also, there are other things that happen at sea. There are things like mutinies. There are problems with the weather. There are things that can happen. I love that this deck of cards, it's essentially an event deck, which we've seen in many games, but it's just really well done with the illustrations on here and the things that happen. And it feels like you're going on an adventure every time you go out to sea, but it's also isolated just with this part of the game. So it's not like a constant, it's not one of these things where every turn you're drawing an event card. It's just when you go between two locations on the board, when you're sailed between two different islands, you have one of these cards, and that's fun. It's interesting. It's risky. It's exciting. That's how exploration should be, I think, in my opinion. So yeah, those are my favorite things about Brotherhood of the Coast. There's plenty more that I could talk about with full spoilers, but I don't want to do that. I hope you give yourself the chance to experience this expansion. It's right up there with Prophecy of Dragons, in my opinion, in terms of the best modules. But really, I've loved almost all expansions of Time Stories, and I highly recommend that you check out the game if you are interested in just a wide variety of mechanisms for exploration and discovery, and yeah, just awesome. That's Time Stories, Brotherhood of the Coast. If you've played it and want to talk about it in the comments, feel free to do so. Make sure to tag it with spoilers if you're going to talk about spoiler stuff. Or if any of these make you think of other exploration games or other games that have similar mechanisms, I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. Thanks.